Alright, here we go to do it all over again. And yeah, it is raining and I have the jacket out today because it is a lot colder. And you guys shared with me this interview that I'll try to listen to later on today. It had to do something about drones and a pilot talking about drones. Like a guy with an actual pilot license to my knowledge. So I'll listen to it a little later. Again, I'm not sure how the day is going to be in general and when the thing will wrap up. It's always interesting to hear from actual pilots talk about drones, here in Canada anyways, because it gives it a little bit more credibility, I guess you can say, in terms of the conversation. Whereas for someone like me, I know a lot of people would say, yeah, you fly for like fun and entertainment, like who cares, like just get rid of them all. So hopefully it'll be interesting, but again, I'm not sure how the day is going to be like, but we'll see. Alright, almost there. I was just reading the comment here saying you didn't bring your Mavic to the country you're in because drones are not allowed. You even brought a 95mm toy grade quad for practice and they took it away from you because it had a camera on it? Holy smokes, what country is this? It's kind of interesting to hear about how the drone's banned where you are, like even the little tiniest one, I guess just because it has a camera because of the hysteria. So I was reading this article recently about that movie Wonder Woman and how they use a drone light show, I guess, to celebrate it. From what I gather, it's the same drones used for that Intel light show, I believe, the one like in the Super Bowl in the US. And I was saying here in terms of promoting, I guess, the drone light show versus traditional fireworks, it says, what's beneficial about these drone light shows is that drones are reusable and smoke-free. And while it talks about the tech, for example, being able to control where to fly and everything like that, it also says another advantage is that fireworks are illegal in some countries. And I see this as a potential opportunity to showcase Intel drone light shows. So it's kind of interesting to think about in some countries where they ban fireworks from displays, but then you can actually use drones to fly around. Although like with that example, is it just once you put a camera on it and that's it? It's a completely different beast altogether in terms of allowing or not allowing something. Especially nowadays too with the camera and drones for people who fly FPV drones for racing and fun. There's a camera there so you can see where to go in general. I mean, it's not meant so much for taking pictures and all that. It's so you can see where you're going. So that's a little silly like in that case if people aren't modernized in terms of this is how it is in terms of how you transport from place to place. You need the camera to see where you're going in a sense as opposed to using it as some kind of quote spy tool like a lot of people are afraid of. I mean, obviously it's not the norm to find a drone that small with a decent camera either, if I can't find something like that, correct? So it's kind of funny how people are so freaked out about tiny drones and cameras thinking they give you this big quality when really they don't. Alright, it's that time again. Not sure how long it will take, but see you guys in a bit. Alright, it's done in the day, and what's with this weather? It's like pouring rain over there, and it's like super sunny up there. Oh, this is Vancouver weather for you. I did read this interesting drone. It's called the Air Drone, and apparently it utilizes the Alexa by Amazon, and this thing literally flies. So imagine having a flying assistant in your house. This is literally, I guess, the way the future's gonna be. You tell it to do stuff, you can have it monitor the home. Although it is pretty expensive, it's like well over $1,000 from what I read here. Would you actually want something like that flying around the house? I did listen to that interview too. Essentially it was about a pilot, a helicopter pilot if I'm not mistaken, talking about how if you fly a drone recreationally, it requires things like common sense and regulation at the same time for the hobby. And he basically, to my understanding, agrees with the notion of having regulations. It's kind of funny because some of the points where he says he agrees with most of the stuff. And to me, I just don't see how people can say that when it comes to things like toy drones, like literally toys. Not the type that, for example, are big, like say a commercial industrialized drone. I'm talking about the toy ones that people fly for fun. I don't know, I just can't see how a commercial pilot can say those laws are reasonable where people like that should get insurance and everything like that. I believe one of the examples he used as in comparison was how apparently way back, like with cars, people were apprehensive of even having things like seat belts. I don't know if that's a correct analogy, like a comparison for this. I mean, for me, it would be the equivalent of saying maybe, it's the equivalent of saying again, like a tricycle, for example, for a kid requires seat belts. It requires licensing and insurance. Like in those cases, there has to be a clear, distinct difference in terms of how people use something and, you know, what it is. It's interesting hearing it from an actual pilot though, because again, the perspective is different. I would say at the same time, you kind of need the perspective of people who are using it with a fresh mindset too, not necessarily people with aviation backgrounds, because the comment on how if you're using the airspace, then you have to treat it, you know, just as responsible as everyone else that uses it, just like a helicopter pilot. I mean, on paper it actually makes a lot of sense, but in practicality it doesn't, just because not everyone uses the same way. I mean, if I flew something really tiny, like 251 grams, 30 meters into the air, for example, I don't think that should play in a factor of saying you have to now understand everything like a pilot does as well. Like that, I think it requires the veterans to scrap what they know on terms of things flying in the air and try to think of it in terms of how it is nowadays. I mean, maybe it's just my opinion, but you should want people to use it safely in those recreational and fun ways, whether it's for things like encouraging people to somehow innovate in the tech or to use it for creativity. I mean, you can't stop people from doing stuff like that, in my opinion. So you can't necessarily always say it's exactly like flying a helicopter. It has to be treated exactly the same way. It depends on the usage. That's what it comes down to, in my opinion. I'll also link the actual interview if you guys want to hear it yourself. And maybe you guys have a different thought about it. Yeah. Holy, what is this? Like a Crow gang territory up here? Okay, overall not too bad today. 11 and a half hours. Most people will probably say, what the heck? Yeah, that's normal. I guess I get to relax a bit now. Let's see, what can I edit? Trying to think of some of the stuff that kind of inspired me today, I guess. I'm doing all that stuff. All right, see you guys later.